My best friend accused me of stealing her baby at the hospital. Security footage proved something worse. The hospital security guard grabbed my arm as I was leaving the maternity ward. Behind him stood my best friend Naomi, her face streaked with tears, pointing at me like I was a criminal. She was screaming that I'd tried to take her daughter, that she'd seen me walking toward the exit with the baby, that I was obsessed with becoming a mother and had finally snapped. I stood there, frozen, my hospital visitor badge still clipped to my shirt, unable to process what was happening. 20 minutes earlier, I'd been sitting in Naomi's room celebrating the birth of her daughter Lily. Now I was being accused of attempted kidnapping by the person I'd considered my closest friend for 15 years. My name is Jordan Reese. I'm 32 years old. I work as a pediatric nurse at County General, but this happened at St. Mary's where Naomi chose to deliver. I'd taken the day off specifically to be there for her birth. Naomi and I met in college, became roommates sophomore year, and stayed inseparable even after graduation. We'd been through everything together: bad breakups, job losses, family deaths. When she got pregnant after years of fertility struggles, I was the first person she told. I threw her baby shower, helped paint the nursery, attended every doctor's appointment she'd let me come to. I was going to be Lily's godmother. At least that's what Naomi had promised me 3 weeks ago over dinner at her favorite Italian restaurant. The security guard asked me to come to the security office. His tone wasn't quite asking. Naomi followed behind us, still crying, her husband Derek supporting her elbow. She'd only given birth 6 hours ago and should have been resting, but instead she was accusing me of something unthinkable. I kept trying to tell them this was a misunderstanding, that I'd never do what she was claiming, but nobody was listening. The guard guided me into a small windowless room with monitors covering one wall. A woman in a pantsuit introduced herself as Karen Voss, hospital security director. She asked me to sit down. I noticed she positioned herself between me and the door, like I was a flight risk, like I was dangerous. Karen asked me to explain my version of events. I told her the truth. I'd been in Naomi's room talking with her and Derek. The baby was sleeping in the bassinet. Naomi asked me to get her phone charger from her bag in the waiting room down the hall. I left to get it. When I came back, Naomi started screaming at me. That's when everything went insane. Karen wrote this down without expression. Then she asked why I'd been carrying a baby blanket when the guard stopped me. I stared at her. I hadn't been carrying anything except my purse and Naomi's charger. Karen pulled a plastic evidence bag from under the desk. Inside was a pink receiving blanket with the hospital logo. She asked if I recognized it. I'd never seen it before in my life. Naomi spoke up from the doorway, her voice shaking. She said she'd watched me take the blanket from Lily's bassinet and wrap it around something before leaving the room. She thought maybe I was just being helpful, taking it to be washed, but then she realized the bassinet seemed lighter when she looked at it. She got up, against doctor's orders because she'd had a difficult delivery, and checked. Lily was still there, thank God. But Naomi said she knew in that moment what I'd been planning, that I'd been about to come back for the baby, that the blanket was preparation. Derek nodded along with everything she said, his arm protectively around her shoulders. He wouldn't even look at me. I'd known Derek almost as long as I'd known Naomi. I'd introduced them at a party 7 years ago. Now he was staring at the wall like I was a stranger. I tried to explain that none of this made sense. I loved Naomi. I loved her baby. I would never, could never do something like this. Karen asked me to empty my purse. I did. Inside was my wallet, keys, lip balm, a granola bar, and Naomi's phone charger. No blanket. Karen examined everything carefully, then asked the guard to check the hallway I'd walked down. He left and came back 5 minutes later shaking his head. No blanket found. Karen turned to Naomi and asked if she was absolutely certain about what she saw. Naomi's face hardened. She said she knew what she saw. She said I'd been acting strange for weeks, asking too many questions about the baby, showing up at her house unannounced. She said her mother had warned her I seemed too invested in the pregnancy. That last part hit me like a punch. Naomi's mother had never liked me. She thought I was a bad influence because I wasn't married and didn't go to church, but I never imagined she'd been poisoning Naomi against me behind my back. I asked Naomi why she was doing this. What had I ever done to make her think I was capable of kidnapping? She started crying again and said I'd been jealous of her pregnancy, that I'd made comments about how unfair it was that she got pregnant so easily after struggling for years. I had never said anything like that. I'd been nothing but supportive. Karen asked if I'd been trying to conceive. I said no, I wasn't even in a relationship. Karen wrote this down and I could see her making some kind of judgment about it. Karen said she was going to review security footage from the maternity ward. She asked me to wait in the room while she did this. The guard stayed with me, standing by the door. I sat there for 45 minutes feeling like I was going to throw up, and what happened next changed everything. Full story is linked below or on my channel.